Welcome back to the channel. So today's video is going to be about how to paint, or at least how I paint up my Union and Confederate cavalry. It's going to be a sort of hybridized one where I'm going to show both styles, and also these skills can be used for the commanders too. So for the blue on the miniatures, especially the trousers I should say, I use magic blue from Game Color. In this demonstration I use the same blue for both Union and Confederate soldiers' trousers. And I find it works pretty nicely, especially when I put the black wash on, which dulls down the colours. It still shines through and looks pretty decent. The next colour I use for the Union jacket is from Game Color Night Blue. Now you don't really see it on the video, but I am actually painting a dark blue over the top, and that's also for the hat as well. Yeah, the reason I'm just doing one of each is because I'd actually already painted up most of my cavalry forces, and so I just needed to demonstrate on a couple of individuals. And then for the Confederate grey, I use the Army Painters War Paints Uniform Grey. And again, I find this works very nicely, especially once the black wash goes on. It still pops and looks decent. So again, for the Confederate soldier, it's just his tunic that I do in grey, and then his kepi will get yellow at a later stage. I actually really enjoyed painting these troops. I'm not sure why, but at the time of painting, it was when New Zealand was going through its Cyclone Gabriel, and yeah, the house was shaking. It was a pretty rough period for me, but also for New Zealand as a whole, so hopefully that won't happen again. Anyway, for the yellow that I used, it was quite literally just a medium yellow. I didn't have a army painter or a game colour. It was just an acrylic yellow, which I had lying around in an old art box. Next, just to give the horses a little bit of colour, I used Bone White from Game Color, and just used that on the mane, the tail, and around its hooves. And I think overall, it just gives them a nice little bit of colour, just breaks them up a little bit, and yeah, doesn't make them just one colour. If you were going purely for speed, you could just leave it as a pure black horse, but I like to have a little bit of fur colour on them. And the black, that was just the spray paint black. So I found that overall it doesn't take too long to paint the miniatures, especially when you're doing one at a time. I think probably it took me maybe 15 to 20 minutes to do each one, excluding drying time for the basing. But yeah, not too bad, and if you were doing them in bulk, it wouldn't have taken much longer. So at this stage I'm just doing the leather and the wooden stocks, and for that I go for a leather brown, just being a lighter brown colour, so again once we put the wash on, it still shows through. This brown is the chocolate brown, I believe. Yeah, chocolate brown, which I'm just using on some of the saddle just to have a bit of a difference between the musket stock and his leather pouches and the actual darker leather of the saddle. Next, for the swords and the metalwork, I use Game Colour Silver. Again, it's quite light, but for the obvious reason of the wash switches to come later on. For the leather brown, that was also Game Colour, and the chocolate brown, that was Vallejo. So I've got a bit of a mixture of different paints, but I like them and they all do the job, so I've got no issues mixing and matching where necessary. So for the flesh tone, I use Flat Flesh, which is, again, a different brand. This one's from Tamiya Color. And to be honest, the only reason I bought it was the only one in the game store when I went in. But I'm actually quite happy with it. The only issue I find with this one specifically is when you unscrew the lid, pretty quickly you get sort of where the paint dries a film, and so it kind of goes a bit gloopy. But apart from that, yeah, it's a nice colour. I think it actually works very nicely. So now what I do is I make up the black wash. So what I use is Game Colour Black, and then I mix that equally with Liquitex Airbrush Medium and Airbrush Matte Medium, again from Liquitex. And then I find what that does, it makes the black wash flow nicely, but also gives the miniatures a bit of a gloss appearance afterwards. They have a little bit of shine to them, which I actually like. Now we get to the stage of doing the base. So I use Vallejo Colors Russian Uniform for the base in green. Again, it would probably, if I were doing a different theatre of the war, perhaps I would go for a different colour, but this is what I use on all of mine. I like the colour. So that's after I've based all of the units that I had. So I've got the dismounted and the horse holders. We've got the commander in the middle, I think that's Meade. And Confederates dismounted, Union dismounted and horse holders. I really enjoy painting this group. I'm not sure why, but yeah, there was something about it which was enjoyable. And then putting bits of clump foliage around the bases. Again, I haven't really done it in the past, but I've started doing it recently and I really quite like the look. So I think I'll probably be doing it. I'll probably break it up a little bit so there'll be some clump foliage and then some grass tufts, but it's something I'm definitely going to keep doing. There's old General Lee and General Meade. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you found this informative. Please like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.